So today we'll be discussing two strategies for ELLs. The first one is communication games, and the second one is RTI for English language learners. The first strategy is communication games. Communication games is for the classroom activities that create opportunities and purposes for listening and verbal communication practice. The purpose of the communication in these games is to convey information or cause something to occur as a result of the activity. Some games provide practice in the use of particular language functions such as giving directions or asking questions. Other games require students to work together and communicate to solve problems. The games in the classroom are used to either break up the ice and help the ELLs learn better by having someone read something off and reinforce concepts to them. This is almost like an assessment to them. It can help them practice verbally and written when doing assessments. It also adds interest to regular activities and makes it more exciting and fun for them. And but most of all, it's to guide practice to communication skills for them. There are steps into the communication games, and step one is to identify a language you need. You must find a language function that your students need to practice, like practicing following the directions, asking questions, and conveying academic information are most commonly used in communication games. The second one is model the game. You need to have someone pick a volunteer in the classroom and show, after going over the directions, have them act out the game so they can visually see how they're going to play the game. You could pick 2 or more students demonstrating, and it'll give them a better understanding. For 3, you must organize the pairs and groups. At least have one fluent English in the group, and the rest have ELLs, one fluent English language speaker, and then the rest ELLs so they can have some ground. Also, for 4, you must guide the practice. I would move around the room and providing support and encouragement while they play the games. And also scaffold questions as they're playing. For 5, talk about the experience. After the game is over, have a classroom discussion and go over what the students had trouble with or what they found was the easiest and hardest and discuss about it. An example of a communication game, which was one of my favorites, it's for information sharing, and this gives each student a pair of information given to complete a task. They must share out loud their information to accomplish this task. An example would be each student could be giving it materials specifically for the game, like an origami flower, and then each student has one section of the directions using the sequence words as a guide. The students take turns reading the directions silently and then conveying them orally so that members of the group can complete the folding task each. This allows them to hear the directions out loud to perform the task using their English communication skills. So overall, for communication games, it's a great way to practice communication skills for the ELLs, and it's a low-stress environment. It's a fun way to get this across, and the students are most likely to be successful because the situations are being explained in advance, and vocab is practiced, and context is built into exercises. For the second strategy is RTI for ELLs. RTI stands for Response to Intervention. This strategy is an instructional delivery model that is designed to ensure early identification of at-risk learners, English language learners, and the provision of the appropriate services for those learners. It guides school improvement progress for English language learners. The main purpose for it is to ensure that students are provided the differentiated instruction needed. It also avoids placing students into exceptional education programs that they don't need. Also, for RTIs, it's a program that they places them, the teacher can do assessments to figure out where they are and document the ELLs to put them in a specific place. It shifts the focus away from the notion of the students as having a problem to the learning conditions and instructional strategies that are needed to support students' achievement and success. An experiment on bilingual special education says RTI may help us more quickly identify the other factors contributing to low performances. It's important to respond early because the more time passes, it's harder to tell the ESL's issues from learning disabilities. There are three-tiered programs in the RTI process. The first one is the general education classroom and core curriculum. This is the general education classroom that will help. The second one is provides qualified students with interventions that supplement the core curriculum and classroom practices. The third tier is the tier involves more intensive, individualized intervention and may or may not include students with identified disabilities who have an individual education plan. Individual school practices with the districts require different documentation of the RTI process as well. They must write down any accommodation, any modifications, and interventions that the ELLs are given from the strategy to work. One of the key elements for RTI is using assessment to measure students' progress and employing the results to inform the type of intervention that is needed for them. It also includes directing the focus of instruction in general education program. An example could be the end of the unit assessment, running records, spelling test, records documenting specific behaviors with the students. Parent involvement is one of the main things that need to be a major key for RTI to work. The parent must be involved with the key decisions and kept there with the accommodations, modification, and interventions being used with their child. They have to know at all times. Overall, the RTI was instituted to make sure that all students receive differentiated instruction to support their success in the general education program before being referred to exceptional support. This strategy is extremely helpful in supporting ELLs. It also emphasizes on assessment and documentation that is so helpful for teachers because it provides an accurate picture of a student's functioning levels over time and documents the student's progress. It's very valuable for teachers and students, study teams, and parents in making decisions and suggestions for future instruction. And these are so I just went over the communication games and RTI strategies for the classroom for ELs.